And I believe we are recording now. I have the fortunate gift of sharing time with Dr. John Gray. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And John says, don't enter a relationship to be happy. Use your relationship to be happier.
Mhm.
John Gray, student of the human spirit, with 9 years of learning as a monk, found his calling helping people truly connect in the most important, most meaningful of ways. He's the author of the influential relationship book of the last quarter century, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and all the subsequent brilliance that has been welcomed all along the way. John's a man who spent his life turning the mysteries of human connection into practical wisdom that has transformed over 50 million lives across 50 languages. Beyond Mars and Venus, John Gray continues to evolve his understanding of love, hormones, and human connection for generations. John, your work starts where mine ends. You help couples thrive once they're together. I help people make sure they choose one of the most important decisions they make in their life, finding and sharing life with someone worth thriving with. Thank you for sharing your valuable time, wisdom, and experience with us. John, you said that chemistry, which is where I start with things, is a big mystery, that it can pull two people together powerfully, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily right for one another. After decades of working with couples, do you believe most relationship pain starts from a failure to communicate or a failure from choosing the right partner in the first place?
Well, definitely it's both. and and maybe we'll elaborate on that one idea that you pointed out, which is chemistry is very, very important in relationships. But we have to remember that we can we can have chemistry with the wrong person.
Hmm.
And this is very common if you have a pattern. You have to, everything has patterns. So you want to learn from the patterns in your life, patterns that work and patterns that don't work. And if you find yourself being, I'm particularly talking to women
Hmm.
on this subject, which is when a woman finds herself being turned on to a man very quickly,
Yeah.
and it turns out that he wasn't really into her. He didn't call her back. He wasn't really ready for a commitment. He was love bombing her, or he was mm, getting a booty call, whatever. One of the things, and he doesn't commit. Okay, let's just put it simply
Mhm.
as that.
Right.
Your pattern is I get turned on to a man, whether you do it or not. You do get turned on to a man who hasn't really earned your respect.
Mm,
Okay, he
right.
hasn't really earned it. And a part of you is wanting to get him. I'm wanting to get him. All right. And I'm turned on. That's usually a sign he's not the right man for you. Usually, if
Mm.
you have the pattern, that
Okay.
chemistry, if you have that pattern. Now, uh, evidently, my wife, Bonnie, of 34 years, she was turned on to me right, right away. Uh, Invited me to her house and we had a wonderful relationship. But I'll tell you this is that we were together for a couple of years and then we ended our relationship. And I ended up marrying another woman for 2 years. And then I came back and married Bonnie. And the
Huh.
reason we didn't marry the first time is that I hadn't yet sort of earned her love. It was too easy for
Oh.
me. So she
Men
finally
like to
said,
chase.
yeah,
And I say you don't always know when it's wrong, but you always know when it's right. So it
yeah.
just took you a minute to know that it was right.
Well, here's my thought with this. If you have this pattern of unavailable love from childhood, you will tend
Hmm.
to think it's right with the unavailable man. And part of what happened, if that's your pattern, it's not the pattern for every woman, but if that's your pattern because you've seen it happen again and again, then the right man actually will not be that exciting. You can feel he's even boring a little bit, but he persists and he wins you over. A lot of women tell me they're happily married. In the beginning with their partner, they didn't feel that spark. Okay. It
Right.
was just even sometimes it's just a friendship, but the man was pursuing the friendship, which is why women always say, can men really have a friendship with a woman? And I'll tell you, in most cases, if a guy is single and not having physical intimacy and he's wanting to be your friend, he's hoping for more. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I like to sort of dispel the myth of what a low consciousness person you are if you just want to have sex. It's not just want to have sex. See, women walk around, they often say, I want relationship, I want intimacy. And we value that. It's a virtue. And love, because love is very virtuous. But sex, if you hold it in the right context, is also very virtuous. It's what makes
Hmm.
babies. It's what creates physical intimacy. It's
Right.
so important. And so men carry the weight of sex, and because we can feel sexual attraction right away. And quite often, if a woman is not with this pattern of being turned on right away to the unavailable man, she will first find a man to be interesting, curious.
Hmm.
She'll
Hmm.
admire him. He have good
Hmm.
qualities. He's potential. And also I like to get to know him. It's kind of like a man is. I like to get to know her naked. She wants. Want to get to know you before we get naked. So there's a natural attraction, and then that attraction can build through the courting process, which was more traditional, which is where he does things for her and she
Right.
practices being receptive and not doing so much for him, but receiving from him. And
Right.
sometimes when women hear me say that, they think, well, then that's being selfish. I'm just thinking about
No.
me and not him. And I go, no, actually, when you think about me as a woman, what you need, what you like, what you want, you're giving him the opportunity to
Opportunity
feel
to
successful. Okay,
and
this is what men.
stand in his whole self.
Yes, that's
But
right.
I love that we're talking about chemistry because, hey, we are all looking for that spark. And I know that you teach that a man's testosterone rises when he feels successfully solving problems for a woman, like you were saying, when they can receive. And a woman's estrogen rises when she feels cared for. But what happens when two people are fundamentally misaligned in their personality qualities, core values, and life priorities? Does all that chemistry and hormonal goodwill eventually collapse no matter how well they communicate?
Wow, nicely said. That's that those ideas I talk about a lot in the book Beyond Mars and Venus. And the
Right.
reason I call it Beyond Mars and Venus is because if you look more traditionally, men did jobs all day that made
Mhm.
testosterone. And if they were successful at that, they would be really good partners. When a man is out of work or not successful, he's really not capable of giving more to you. Selflessness occurs inside of
Mhm.
men when they're
Yeah.
successful. And sometimes women think, oh, that's not the case. Well, there's always exceptions to everything. But if you think about entertainers, when entertainers performing, they're solving, they're doing something for you. That's the male side. They're solving a problem in a sense. They've disciplined themselves, they're giving their energy. And when they're done, everybody claps. They
Yes.
appreciate what they did. I'm clapping for you. And then what did the entertainers do? They kneel. If you want a man to kneel for
Oh, I
you,
love that.
then you
Yeah.
need to let him do something for you that you can genuinely appreciate. I mean, it
Oh,
just makes
wow. In
my
a
day.
world today where women have to be so independent and care for themselves, it is really a huge leap to suddenly learn how to receive those gifts.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also hard to give a man appreciation when
Mhm.
you're doing the same things that he's doing. If like my mother could really appreciate my dad because he went to work and did jobs that she did not want to do, and she got to do what she would prefer to do, which was raising her family and living in a nice neighborhood and going on nice vacation. Whereas he's out there doing the dirty, dangerous, difficult jobs without complaining, but doing that for his family because he was
Right.
successful. See, when a man feels I can successfully provide fulfillment to a woman, that's what a man's life is about, or for his family as
Oh,
well. There's a one of the sayings from one of my books is when you make a man a hero, he will die for you. And when you
yes.
don't, he will die because of you. Okay, so
Oh.
it's we know this to be the case that men who are happily married live longer. Okay, it's a
Yes.
reality, and there is something that interrupts with that though. Since we're talking about hormones, is if a man retires, his testosterone level does take a big drop.
Mm.
Statistically, if a man gets married, his testosterone also drops. If he
Oh,
has children, it drops
that's right.
again. If he has grandchildren, I have,
These huge life events.
yeah, these are big deals. They will drop again. Now, why is that? Because now mine did not drop. Okay, I'm 74 years old. I'm trying to count how many grandkids I have. I have five. All right, so five grandkids. Now, the truth is, if I spend all day babysitting with the 3-year-old,
Right.
I will be exhausted. My testosterone will crash. Now, why is that? Because I love them so much. I just have so much feeling of love. You know, when you're more open-hearted, you can with your children, you take them to the zoo because you can re-experience the zoo through their eyes, and
Right.
it's
Through
quite
their
beautiful.
eyes.
Yes,
Yeah.
but nobody goes to the zoo unless you've got your kids. Maybe you go once or twice and you've done it unless you've got a job. But you bring your kids because they're seeing it for the first time, and you get to experience that childlike wonder. And that
Right.
childlike wonder is one of the symptoms of estrogen feeling. Okay, when you feel, you produce estrogen. And when you feel and you're producing estrogen, often too much estrogen will lower your testosterone.
Oh,
So this is why married couples often stop having sex. One of the many reasons I can explain, but what you see is the attraction goes away, and part of it is men's testosterone levels start to drop because he loves her so much. See,
mm,
he cares for her, he connects with her, and his estrogen goes up. So before a man should connect with his wife or his grandchildren, he makes sure, or his children, he needs to
right.
make sure that his testosterone is up. So he has to feel successful first without depending on his wife's happiness or his children's happiness, but on himself. When you're successful depending on yourself to produce results that are not your family, that's a big testosterone producer. Then at the end of the day, that becomes depleted if he has stress during the day. So then he needs time alone with a hobby or some
Right.
activity, which I call cave time, and now it's become a national phenomenon. Men in their caves,
Right. Men in their caves.
and cave
That's
time, because it's the cave time. It's a big subject, but one way you could define a cave is when a man does anything his wife thinks is a waste of time.
right.
so
Okay.
so he's doing his thing. He needs to feel independent. He needs to feel challenged, but not stressed. And that's what a hobby would be. Challenged,
Right.
but
So
not
then
stressed.
on the opposite side of that, I believe that you say something along the lines of women actually, rather than going to their cave, they connect
That's right.
and they talk and they
Yeah.
navigate through their own challenges that way so that they can also come back to the relationship in a healthy way so that both partners can show up for one another in that way. Is that right?
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
I
Now,
learned that from you.
well, I agree with you. Uh, so
Awesome.
the so these ideas come from my life experience to a great extent, and they're not your common knowledge. That's what's wonderful about them, because if I just said what everybody else is saying, you'd get the results that everybody's getting, which is not
Right.
that obvious or not that positive. So when I was in Bali, this is 30 years ago, on vacation with my wife, and we are in a hotel room, and I was looking out the window, and I watched 30 women go down to the river with their children all around them, and nobody
Hmm.
was stressed. They were all going down to the river, and they were carrying laundry, and they would get into the water, and they use rocks, and they pound the laundry, and they're all cleaning, and they're talking, and they're sharing, and their interaction. They're feeling included. They're part of a tribe. They're
Yep.
also talking, making a lot of noise, expressing themselves. That turns out to be a major stress reducer for women.
For women.
Men, on the other hand, are standing over their rice fields, just silently watching, silently guarding. And they would come home basically having solved the problem and coming home to provide for their families financially and protect their families and so forth. I had the good fortune of growing up where I had a dad who had a good job. We lived in a middle class neighborhood, never thought there was anything above it, thought everything was just normal. And my mother was
Mhm.
really, really happy and grateful. And she had 7 children. And if you can imagine how wonderful life was back then, there was the support of other women around in the neighborhood because they
Right.
weren't all in the
We
workplace.
had community.
They had community. So once women go into the workplace, everything changes. And if we look at it in the most optimistic way, what it does for women, it gives them power, a
Hmm.
freedom to make choices in their life, not be overly dependent on a man, particularly if he wasn't a good husband. So she has the freedom to end. This is a good thing. So, and it's also development of the whole self, because a woman has both a male side and a female side. A man has both a male side and a female side. But here's the amazing distinction that hasn't yet gotten into our collective consciousness that pervades my work.
I'm
And I
listening.
worked hard to find this because I needed some science to validate men and women really are different. As funny as that is for people who are listening to your show, some people just don't think those differences are real. Okay. They just think we're really just conditioned to be a certain way. And if you just change the condition and we can all be the same, who wants everybody to be the same anyway? But the reality is that we are different. And it turns
Hmm.
out that it's those differences when a man is more masculine, he's making more testosterone than a woman, 20 times more. He will feel turned on to her and attracted to her. And when a woman is feeling 20 times more estrogen, she's producing 20 times more estrogen than a man. That is the chemistry that causes the attraction to occur
There we
between a
go.
man and a woman. It's very biological. But even put chemistry to the side and just look at what blocks chemistry in many cases, and that is stress hormones. Stress hormones inhibit so many
Mhm.
healthy functions in our body, but they also inhibit our ability to be optimistic and to feel trust and to feel our hearts open. And it affects women more than men because if I am in danger as a man and I feel confident within myself, actually that stressor raises my testosterone even more, which is why men will choose more stressful, dangerous jobs as long as
Hmm.
they can be successful. Historically, women did not. They chose, and to a great extent, in many countries they still do, routine jobs, jobs which are routine.
Hunter-gatherer.
Yeah, yeah, hunter gatherer and nurse, school
Yep,
teacher.
yep.
They're not going to
Caretaker.
be out there driving Uber. That's dangerous. Who do you know is going to be in the car? So construction workers, dying
Right.
early for your family while using your jackhammer, climbing up. And, so many men die early because of the dangerous jobs they do. But having said that, we're not feeling sorry for men at all. This is what we men are about. We're happy to be that way. But women would choose the more routine jobs, the less stressful jobs, the less jobs where you had to make decisions. But of course, you make some decisions. But every time you make a decision, that's a source of stress because now you put yourself responsible for good or bad. You don't know what the result's going to be. So in that world of where women feel safe, okay, then their estrogen goes up if they feel safe and they can depend on others to help and be there for them. So that's the importance of other women. It's also the importance of a man who's in a committed relationship to her and he's devoted to her. See, the
Right.
thing about other women is they give one kind of support to a woman, but the support a man gives is beyond that if the relationship's working. He's devoted. He's going to share his income with you. He's going to marry you. He's going to he's going to make babies, so help with make babies. Other women are not going to do that. And maybe a few cases, but that's not it's the female support you get from other women, which you need just as much as you might need a man, is validation for what you feel inside, what you're going through. And that's very, very important. That produces estrogen. But what
Right.
produces higher estrogen is romantic love, where a woman can depend on a man to make her happier, where a man can also she can be dependent on him, have her make feel safe. And so there's what I've created is a whole variety of techniques and processes to generate through communication skills
Yeah.
higher estrogen in women and higher testosterone in men. Because what allows me to have my testosterone go up as I get older, and for my wife to have none of the symptoms of menopause. That's a
Menopause.
big,
Right.
big deal. The perimenopause, menopause, but then after menopause, what women don't understand, unless they've studied this, is that before menopause, your body is primarily making estradiol. And when your estradiol levels, for example, are 10 or 20 times higher than a man's, we make it as well, your stress goes down. Anytime a woman is stressed, her estradiol is low. Anytime a man is stressed, his testosterone is low. So this creates a whole branch of knowledge to understand, well, a
Mhm.
relationship, what can I do to help raise my wife's estradiol? What can she do to raise my testosterone? And if they don't know how to do it, how can I create situations where they will do it? And that's what
Right.
because nobody's trained to do this. We didn't have to do that. See, my mother and father didn't have to do that because he already did it by culture. Culture
Right.
put men in a position which forced them to make testosterone, enough testosterone where a woman would then have sex with him. See, now women are just giving it away for free, just destroyed masculinity completely. When you give it away for free, then men don't have to earn your love. Men have to earn, women don't. You have to be. You have to authentically be. And what is it authentically be for a woman? Is to be vulnerable, to feel the
Hmm.
need for someone's help, But you do have to, in our culture, you have a male side now that's very strong. You have to be proactive in how to get what you need to be the loving woman, the happy woman, the fulfilled woman, the graceful woman, the generous woman, the forgiving woman, the assertive woman. All these qualities of femininity are associated with estrogen. And but it's a particular kind of estrogen, which is called estradiol. Your body will automatically make it up to menopause. But then at menopause, it stops making it. You don't get it for free. You have to do something. Even before your body says you need to get support to bring estradiol up. If you don't have
So,
support in your life to bring estradiol up, you'll be stressed. So that's why younger women get stressed. They're not making enough estradiol, period.
so I'm curious to know your thoughts on my philosophy is in a healthy partnership, you can maintain your own identity and individuality. And then together, you're creating the universe of a partnership in which we're sharing, as you were saying, the chemistry that we are supporting one another's growth, stability, and hormonal and emotional regulation. We're sharing pillow talk and inside knowledge and inside jokes. And together, as we support one another in our goals and we achieve what we are set out to achieve in relationship, we are sharing life's challenges and celebrations together.
That's
And
beautiful.
that could also mean building that chemistry together.
Well, you can only share in a positive way if you're not in a stress state. If you're in a stress state, you always mistrust. When a woman
Mm,
mistrusts a man, like I have to walk on too many eggshells around him, or he's mad at me, or he's going to leave me, any of those fears that women will have, uh, that actually shuts a man's testosterone down. Men have to be the hero, the man you can trust and
right.
depend on. So this is where it's vital for women to understand how men are different. Because if we all get annoyed by things, irritated by things, we get angry occasionally, whatever. If I get angry, what I'm teaching men right now is don't talk. If I talk, I only become angrier. This is
Mhm.
biological. Anger in a man is only a sign of cortisol, which is hormonal imbalance. It already means my testosterone's too low. It already means my estrogen's too high. When you talk, your estrogen goes higher and higher. That's why we're talking in the beginning about women need to talk. It
Right.
raises your estrogen, it lowers your stress, and then you don't need to talk about problems or even think about problems. But talking about problems is something that, and talking about the feelings produced by problems, produces huge amounts of estradiol. Now, once you go to menopause, your body doesn't automatically tell you you need to make estradiol. You don't have as many complaints. Now, you go through a period where you stop making estradiol, and that creates a lot of anxiety and depression. Hot flashes is obvious, but the more hidden things is unhappiness because it's the estradiol says I have a need and somebody's fulfilling it, and then that makes you feel love and more happy. So when you're not making estradiol, it's hard to make enough love, romantic love. Literally, when your estradiol is not being produced, it dries up down south, makes sex painful. All these problems is hormonal problems, and
Hmm.
there's a lot more, but I don't want to go through all of them. But but what you get instead of estradiol is something called estrone. And what estrone, the definition of estrone is weak estradiol. So basically, you have 10 times the benefit of it, 10 times less benefit. It just goes down. So this is why you'll see women beyond menopause, 90% are of people with osteoporosis are women in menopause. Okay, your bones become weak. Your brain has low serotonin. In order to avoid feeling anxious, you just basically turn off and say, I'll just do it myself. I don't
Right.
depend on others. See, part of anxiety is I depend on others and they're not going to be there for me. But if you shift gears to I don't need others, I can do it myself. And that's the attitude that goes along with estrone. And it's the attitude that goes along with wrinkles. You can see how
How do,
vulnerable estradiol is what keeps your face young and wrinkle free. Estrone doesn't, it causes you to get wrinkles, it causes all kinds of physical problems, it causes muscle shrinkage, it causes obesity for some women. It's estrone as opposed to estradiol. So what we
Mhm.
want to do as you're in menopause, and nobody teaches this, is what are the behaviors between a man and a woman that can stimulate estradiol for the rest of your life,
Right.
along with estrone? Because that's the benefit of what in some ancient traditions, women didn't have all these hot flashes and these mood changes and the lack of sex and the lack of intimacy. And when they went through menopause. That's not there when I'm in indigenous cultures. It still goes on because women are dependent on men for certain things to produce estradiol. So we don't have that today. What we have is women who are have to deal with this estrogen up to menopause, but now doesn't have any more eggs. The body stops that process of making estradiol. But there's another process chemically, which I write about in my books on this, which by the way is in this book here, which is for women only. It's called Men Are From
Right.
Mars, Women Are From Venus, for women only. I go into all the science to back this up, and I actually found the pathway that happens. How do you keep making estradiol at all ages, even when your body doesn't automatically make it? What you have to do is be vulnerable, depend on
Hmm.
somebody without blaming them. And so that's the whole key. See, vulnerability, you have to amp it up a little bit to where you see vulnerability means you could be hurt. Okay. So
Hmm.
if I'm in a battle and I don't have any armor, I'm vulnerable. I could be hurt. So how can a woman be hurt? Well, one example is having a man drive for you. Already you're in a vulnerable situation. You'll see
That's
most
right.
women and many women in menopause and beyond, their husbands are driving.
Hmm.
You've seen
Hmm.
it, okay? And basically that tells me, and they're also not having sex, okay? So, it takes a lot of depending and trusting a man to let him drive you in a car. For me, for example, I'm massively stressed out when my wife drives.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I just
So,
like, whoa. So,
so John,
but that's
John, I
vulnerability.
believe, right, that vulnerability is so key. And I believe that all relationships follow the same cycle, from chemistry to casual to committed. And that committed stage is the handshake agreement, which actually creates the adrenaline and serotonin and the oxytocin. And as you were saying, all of the neurotransmitters and hormones that we need, which actually catapults us forward into the chemistry phase of a relationship again. And the way to up level those relationships are through communication, shared experiences that develops respect, and over time builds that trust that we're looking for so deeply. We hope so much. We can trust someone in a partnership to actually make decisions that will be in our best interest and that we could trust them so that even we could be the passenger in the car with them and be vulnerable.
Well, this is where I was just getting to. So one is the man is driving, but men don't always drive in a way that makes a woman feel comfortable. So she has to,
You think?
yeah. So she needs to feel the danger, and then she needs to acknowledge the danger, and then he needs to save her. See, he has to solve the
Okay.
problem. So a woman in danger, what will happen is her testosterone goes up. If that testosterone node is immediately uh, the problem is immediately solved without her having to do anything, the testosterone will convert into estradiol. It's a biological reaction. Whenever a man does something for a woman, let's say you're carrying a box and somebody open, hey, let me help you with that. You'll just feel a
Right.
wave of, oh, that's something. So it's when a man particularly comes and does something that you don't have to do. So now amplify that. You're in the car and he's driving a little fast. You're not feeling comfortable. You communicate to him, and he instantly slows down and respects your wish. Instantly, with a smile on his face. So this was the first understanding of this, is that my wife said, I know you get all grumpy when I give you advice to slow down, because the truth is you are a better driver than me, but I have my own comfort zone, and I am a better driver than her. She'd tell you that. But her comfort zone is what's most important, that she doesn't feel danger when I'm driving. Sometimes she likes if we're late. She doesn't mind the danger. I'll go fast, but whatever. So what we learned, she just said, "How
She's
can I
living
tell
on
you?"
the edge.
That's right. Well, she said, "How can I tell you to slow down?" And I could not figure out a way. And then I finally got the answer. Don't tell me. Just grab the handle. So that's where I
Oh,
learned hand signals. Hand signals are so,
okay.
so important. And part of that is because if a woman is already in a stressed state, the tone of voice will say, I don't appreciate you, I don't trust you, and you need to change. The tone
Right.
of voice can evoke a trigger inside of a man. So a
Absolutely.
hand
I was going
signal
to
is
ask this question because we don't want to parent our partner and we don't want to mother them and we don't want them to think that they're putting us in risky and dangerous behaviors, but we do need to communicate and advocate for ourselves to let them know where we're at, what we're feeling. And in the world that I'm coaching in, I say, you know, increase the confidence that they have that the answer that they give is going to be right. So pre-approve asking someone out on a date so they don't have fear of failure or feel fear of rejection.
Yeah, that's
But
I call that
holding
my
the hand
dating
will
book.
do
I call
it.
that proceptivity, is take action in order to be receptive. Let him know that his welcome, his interest in you is welcome. So here's another dating tip, which is
Okay,
dangerous, where a man can then solve the problem. And yeah, you know, one of my books, I talk about all the romantic novels. Every romantic movie is always a woman has a problem and a man solves it.
right.
When we look in
On the
terms
white
of
horse.
when we look in terms of brain plasticity, where you train your brain to be more loving and happy and fulfilled so you don't get triggered, it always comes by having a stress that's quickly resolved. If you have a stress, you can't change your brain thinking unless you're in danger, because that's when the brain says, okay, we got to look at things differently. And but if you don't have it resolved quickly, your brain doesn't change. It just grows stronger that life is a dangerous place and I don't feel
Mhm.
safe all the time. So you create these little episodes. A major So when you look at this research, that stress is high stress, for example, when resolved quickly, is what will change the brain wiring so that things don't bother you in the future even. So if you look at, it's not really the stress that causes to happen. What happens is it's the estradiol that allows the brain to change for women. Is what goes on is when you have a stress hormone, there are always, and you're not aware, most women aren't aware of it because they haven't done the therapy or have the emotional intelligence. Some have. Anytime you're upset, you have some anger. If it's
Mm-hmm.
cortisol, there's anger, there's sadness, there's
Mm-hmm.
fear,
Yep.
and there's regret. Okay. And like we feel sorry. Okay. It's always inside of there. And so I have an app that helps women discover what those feelings are. In counseling, if I ask a woman, well, what else are you feeling emotionally? They don't know. They'll tell you what I feel like. I feel I don't have this or he doesn't do this. They'll be on the surface level. But
Right.
that does not produce estradiol. What produces estradiol and is being able to look at and feel negative emotions and then quickly change them into positive emotions.
There you go.
And
Positive opposite, I
so
call
I
it.
have this app, Mars Venus Heart Space, that teaches it. It actually does it for you. But this book teaches you how to do that. But that's going to make estradiol. That's learning to be aware of when you're stressed. But once you're making estrone, you don't make as much cortisol because you're not depending on anybody. See, a
Mm-hmm.
major source of cortisol is where you feel I have to depend on others for help and they're not there
Right.
for me. So you have to simulate the emotions of stress, look for them instead of like try to ignore them. And it's harder to
Right.
find them unless you have the skills that you developed younger, but you can learn it at any time. And so that's one. The feeling letter exercise, that's one. That one's called. Another one is the 5 minute ask. If you're in a relationship, and I know we're talking a lot of single people as well, so I'll give you
Mm-hmm.
an example on the asking for help and getting it. Asking for help is danger for women. Women do not ask for help unless they're complaining or they feel entitled. Then you have no stress. You feel like, well, he should do this. But if you just ask for help, particularly for something that you would just like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not like he should do it, uh, that's dangerous. That will
Right.
produce a little surge of cortisol, the testosterone, and then when he responds positively, it will convert your testosterone back into estradiol, and you'll be a young woman again. It'll be like a wave of romantic feeling, and it's very special.
It
So
sounds like it also increases your self-value, self-worth, self-confidence,
yes,
all of that.
that's all associated, by the way, with high estradiol. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
just so you have to assert your wishes and needs, but in a language. This is how to talk to a man so he'll listen, how to talk to a man so he'll do what you want. This is an art. Women, my mother didn't have to do that at all. My dad was already taught. What do? You make money, you police
Right.
the kids. That means that the mother can say to the kids, I'll tell your father and he'll spank you. Okay. So he's the policeman in the house. He's the provider. This is the way it used to be. And he doesn't get angry. See, this is what men have never been taught today. They're taught the off. Talk about your feelings. Talk about your feelings. If you have any negative emotion and you're a man, any discontent, and you talk to your wife, okay, our girlfriend, and say, oh, I don't like this, or I feel hurt when you do that, or I'm mad about this, or I'm frustrated by you saying this to me. Any of that sharing that stuff with a man, when a man does it, it produces estrogen, it produces estradiol, and that will lower his testosterone. And then he'll become more angry. Anger, most people don't know, when a man is angry, irritated, annoyed, grumbling, it's a sign his testosterone is going down and his
Mhm.
estrogen's going up. Talking about your feelings raises estrogen. And when a man is angry, his estrogen is already too high. He shouldn't talk. But women don't know this. So what women do is they try to get him to talk. Because if by asking questions, confronting him, arguing with him, instead of saying how to diffuse his anger, you just say, what you're saying makes sense. I need to think about it and walk out of the
Yeah.
room. Walk
Give
out
him
of the
some
room
space and
and give him
time.
space, because space is the most important thing to rebuild testosterone. He's on his own. You're not trying to change him. You're not blaming him. You're not disapproving him. He doesn't have to defend from you. So now he can be in his space. And what he does is he reflects on what just happened. And his basic mechanism, if we haven't taught him to be more like a girl, is to not, if you don't ask him questions, but he has to be alone. His brain will go, okay, what happened? Well, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to worry about it. She does this, she does that, and she's great. I'm grateful for this. I got to solve this problem right now. And he'll forget the whole thing. It's done. It's
Right.
processed.
Right. And
And
it's done.
and then when he comes back, women think, what a Jekyll and Hyde man. He was so frustrated
No,
with me and now he's like so
resolved.
loving. Yes, he processed his emotions without having to talk about it, without you having to do anything. He
Right.
processed it. She, on the other hand, can't understand that because if she gets upset, she needs to talk about it. The problem is that if she talks about negative feelings that sound like it's blaming him or
Mhm.
attempting to change him, he will resist everything you say. And now this is biology. This is give up
Right.
on trying to have conversations where you're in a cortisol mode and you're telling a man to change by expressing your emotions, which would be complaining, which would be nagging, which would be disapproving, which would be giving unsolicited advice to him to make him change. All of that biologically does something to a man. It shuts down his ability to feel his positive emotions. Now, this is proven now with brain scans. If a man feels needed in some way and blamed, there's a thing called mirror neurons that allow you
Right.
to feel what somebody feels. As soon as you need him to change in any way, but he feels blamed, his mirror neurons will close and he cannot
Mm.
feel what you feel. He just has
Right.
to analyze the whole situation and make you wrong, defend. If what opens a man's mirror neurons, and why this is significant, is that women can't understand this, they can't relate to this, because women's mirror neurons are open all the time. And the
Right.
more they love someone, they open more until they feel so disappointed, so much unsafety in the relationship. And it takes a long time for her mirror
Mhm.
neurons to show down. For a man, it happens in an instant and it will open up very quickly. 20 minutes later, it's all done. It's processed. It's forgiven. You're forgiven. He loves you. He's attracted to you. It's all good as long as when he comes back, you don't go, you got mad at
Right.
me. You
Right.
or you're dangerous. I can't
Right.
trust you. I don't think you love me. I have to be careful. No, that's a man, but you don't understand a man. And so if I come back out of my cave and you're like nervous to be around me because I was so grumpy before,
Mm.
then that makes me more grumpy. I have to go back to the cave to forget what you just
Right.
said. You're
But
total
if you can allow the man that space and not punish him for
yeah,
it, then
or
he can come
disapprove him,
back
punish him.
and be whole for you in partnership. So these are the kinds of things that I teach through the art of relationshiping as well. You're certainly one of my great mentors and wise leaders. I work from the idea, as I was saying, that every relationship moves through these natural cycles from chemistry to casual to getting to know you phase into that genuine commitment. And what deepens each phase isn't just luck, it's shared experience and deliberate, clear communication that builds respect and over time earns that trust, like you're saying, so that we can work in partnership together. So does that cycle map to what you've seen play out in couples that you've worked with over the years?
Sure, that's a great. And there's a lot of things that sabotage that, and I'll point that out. That's a
Good,
beautiful
thank you.
cycle. When you actually achieve that cycle and you get married, you're in a committed relationship, you both are supporting each other and whatever. there's a tendency, what happens in the brain is habituation.
Hmm.
Habituation means that in the beginning it's new, it's different, it's challenging, you overcome it, your brain produces dopamine. And in men, dopamine automatically raises testosterone. And in women, dopamine automatically raises estradiol if she feels
There we go.
safe in the relationship. So there's
Right.
this natural chemistry that happens. Once habituation sets in, you don't get that automatic dopamine hit. Life becomes routine. And so, what we have to have, which is what you're recommending as well, is better communication. But this is communication that focuses particularly on making sure that she communicates in a way that raises his testosterone and he behaves in a way that raises her estradiol. For many women, when estradiol is low, words are cheap. She wants action because action is the most important thing that women need from a man. But listening is actually an action, which is
Hmm.
hearing and being present and not interrupting. And these are skills that men don't know. They'll never know unless a woman tells him. And he doesn't have to
I
even read my
use,
book.
would you like me to listen, guide, or help? And that
that's a
gives my partner an opportunity to make a choice.
That's good. That's good. So man would say to the woman, "Would you like me to listen, guide, or help?" Now,
Hmm.
the point is that 80% of the people who really get into all this stuff are women. Okay,
Right.
they're the receptive ones. They're aware of what I'm not getting. See, men are not so much aware of what they're not getting. All they're aware of is what they're getting that they don't like. But women are aware. I need to feel loved. I need to feel cherished. I need to feel heard. I need to feel seen. Men are not so much aware of what's inside. And if he was and he complained about it, it would also be a turnoff to her. So it's a and by the way, when women complain to men, it's also a turnoff to him. So how do women talk about their
Right.
feelings? Because that's the number one thing, one of the number one things to produce estradiol. So you have to learn a new skill. I call it Venus talk. And the Venus talk is it's all about her. She's going to talk about problems and emotions and feelings if she can, but at least you can talk about what's going on, problems that you have for 10 minutes. It's a limited amount of time, can be done regularly, and it's initiated by just putting two hands up.
Okay.
Because
The
if you
hand
if you
signals
if you
again.
say to a man, we need to talk, instantly stress goes off
Oh.
in a man. Okay, so how do you create that conversation? It's two hands up, and then a guy goes instantly. He will listen. He will say, "Oh, what's my job? My job is," and you have to remind him many times. Okay, so right now I just want to talk about problems I'm having, just to sort it out. I don't need you to solve it. I just want to feel connected to you and my part of my life that you don't see, and that makes me feel better. That will lower my
Right.
stress. If you read my book, it also raises my female hormones so I can be more interested and more loving and more romantic. So this is really helpful for to me. And it only takes 10 minutes. Would you help me? That's the introduction to
Right.
this. So
Would
you
you
always,
help me?
as opposed to, we need to talk, we should talk, we're a
Right.
couple. No. Men don't need to talk. Okay. We're so simple. Basically, we don't
So
need that.
simple. But you do realize that a lot of the people who are coming to me are coming to me to attract the right love in their lives. And then we can learn to trust ourselves in intimate relationships and navigate obstacles along the way. So here's something I feel strongly about, and I'd love your take on it. Most dating advice tells people to find similarities and things that they like that they have in common, like hiking and pizza and going out on Friday nights or travel. But I found that the real lasting compatibility comes down to alignment on personality qualities, core values, lifestyle priorities, and life circumstances. The intrinsic assets, the architecture of who a person truly, genuinely is. So, in your experience, do couples who skip that deeper compatibility layer end up fighting hormonal chemistry rather than building on it?
I'm right with you there, which is, and the takeaway from that, it's the values that we have. We need to share the similar values, but we don't have to have the same hobbies. We don't have to
Right.
think the same. We can actually, it's good if we don't think the same, is that there's something different. And
Hmm.
there's also a place where my wife likes the symphony. I have no interest in doing the symphony, but honey, if it makes you happy, I'm happy to take you. See
Right.
that
There you
that is
go.
a that's another For her to ask me to go to the symphony, it's another danger because she knows I'm a guy's guy. I don't go to the symphony, you know. And
Right.
some guys do. I don't want to say that's not masculine, but I just it's not
It's
my
just not
thing.
your
It's
thing.
not my
So the
thing.
fact that you're
Uh,
sharing an experience that she will enjoy is the
that's
love
right.
act that
And the
you're
fa-
sharing with her.
and the fact that it was something that I wouldn't normally do, but I'm happy to do for her. Emphasis on I'm happy to do for her. Now, this
Right.
is gender instruction. This is not for women. I'm not asking women to do things because it will make him happy. No, your job is to be happy. That's your greatest gift for a man, if you want to know, is create situations for him to make you happier. So here's another dangerous thing to make
All we ever
estradiol.
wanted.
Okay, so a guy's taking you on a date because I want to keep including the single people here, and that is, and typically what happens, he'll say, once you made a connection, well, let's get together. What would you like to do? He'll say to you, what would you like to do? And she'll say, what would you like to do? That's the safe thing.
Well, you're at
That's the
net
safe.
zero then.
So you're at net zero, right? So what you can do is already know three things that you would like to do. And then you say, well, here's three things I like to do. And one is super easy for him, another is moderately easy for him, and one is even more challenging for him. Okay.
The easy, medium, or hard
That's
button.
right, right,
And
right.
then
So
how can we share and enjoy this together?
yeah, well, exactly. And so here's three things that we could do. You pick. That's the important thing is you
Ah,
pick and let me know. So you're letting him
okay.
take credit for the experience as
There you
opposed to just
go.
doing what you've asked him to do, because that makes him more of a
Right.
submissive role. He wants to feel I'm providing for you something. I'm going to carry the risk of it, but it actually reduces his risk because he knows this is something that she's going to like. And that's everything when it comes to testosterone for a man is when he focuses his attention on taking action to provide something of significance for her.
Hmm.
So let's look at one of the challenges that women face as they get older. Well, when women are young, they haven't figured men out yet. Women have a difference in that women do not form definite opinions about things until they've experienced a lot. They won't just immediately raise their hand and say, I have the answer. She has to have experienced and researched and looked at it till finally she gets to the place of confidence where I have the answer. You can see this in school classes. Teacher asks a
Right.
question and the young boys will all raise their hand. They just think, hey, I got an answer, what it might be. Girls are going to be a little more hesitant, okay, until they've had some experience and they form an opinion, a strong opinion. Boys can quickly act like I know just what the answer is until I'm proven wrong. So
Right.
so and women often when a man or a husband has an answer, she thinks, "Oh, you just like know everything. You don't care what I
Mhm.
think and I'm not important to you,
Oh,
whatever."
not included as part of the tribe where she needs to
That's right.
talk.
That's right. Needs to talk. So I learned all these techniques. Like with my wife, my wife, I say to her, I can't say, "Hey, let's go on a walk." For her, okay, each one has their particular sensitivities. I say, "Honey, when you have a chance and you're finished what you're doing, let's
It's
go for a
very
walk."
delicate of you.
Yeah. Well, I'm respectful. Uh, Part of why that is I'm famous, okay, and there's a lot of people put me up on a pedestal, and that's intimidating to my wife. I mean,
Mm.
imagine going to social events and everybody clocks around me.
Yep, yep. I
That's
have
an issue
clients
that
like
we had to
this.
overcome.
Yep.
So to a certain extent, there's a power that I have, and she's not getting all that validation and everything. So I have to respect that. And if I don't, by the way, what she'll do instinctively, and this is what happens to all successful, powerful men, and why they all get divorces, or so many of them get divorces, is that they're getting all this power, recognition, and everything, feeling so good about themselves and confident. They should be confident because they're good at what they do. That's why they're successful. So he has all that. And in the beginning of my marriage with Bonnie, now Bonnie, I've been married for people know 34 years. But I'm with her, and many years before that, I tried to marry her. So it was a long time I've been with Bonnie. But she passed on, and now I'm
Yeah,
remarried.
you and I were going through a similar cancer journey in our partners at about the same time. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
what a journey! What a journey! So anyway, I used to make jokes about it. I say, "Men, our job is to climb the ladder of success, and a woman's job is to knock that ladder down."
Oh
Okay,
gosh.
what they do because they want they want sameness, okay, they want connection and everybody's building. What about her? So I realized if I don't build her up in the power
Mhm.
ratio in the relationship, and for a
I see.
woman's power is not look what I can do, that's a false power, that's a masculine power. The feminine power is look what I can get him to do for me.
Oh, okay.
That's female power. I don't have to do it all. All these, I can do it all women, they're all stressed out, feeling I have no time for me. I do everything myself. When I say I do everything myself, I'm proud of it. They're saying I'm so stressed, I have to do everything myself. Because for
It's
women, for estradiol, they need to feel I have plenty of time. And that's another way you create estradiol is you don't say yes to everything, but you create time to get what you want. Not just time for yourself, that's part of it, but time to let other people do for you. Now, to create time for other people to do for you, you have to work on patience.
whew.
See, that's a feminine quality.
Patience.
Patience is a feminine quality. Just to let you know, this is a big estradiol situation. Is because when you're patient, you have to trust, and when you're
Right.
patient and you trust, you're depending on someone to do something for you. So here's another thing, which is be in a relationship or be dating with some guy who's not there for you all the time. He doesn't call back or whatever. Oh, I'm done with that. No, no, this is fuel for the fire. You're
Right.
depending on him for something and he's not there for you. Now you write your feeling letter or you talk to a girlfriend and you process your emotions by talking about your what happened. But the key to it that amplifies maybe 10 times in my experience, when I research on how much more it is, but how much vulnerability, how much you share. Because see, let's say you're complaining about a guy who didn't get back to you and sharing with a girlfriend. You also say, I'm afraid something's wrong with me. I'm afraid,
Oh, yeah.
I'll never get the love I need.
They
I don't
say
know.
I'm not young enough, I'm not wealthy enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not high up enough on the social hierarchy
Yeah.
to be in a healthy partnership.
And that is, and these are the insecure feelings that have to come
Right.
up and be shared. That's one way to share them. You can also write them out, but sharing with a friend who understands that. But that's so vulnerable to do because what's going to happen unless you tell somebody, and this is just a part of me. I don't need you to give me a lot of encouragement and telling me I'm wrong. Sometimes we don't want to share our vulnerability because someone say, "Well, you shouldn't feel that way." I was talking to some guy. Let's see, this is my daughter. I'm not going to be able to take it. Okay. Let me see what time.
So,
Okay.
John, your work's been, I'm gonna
Oh, I
skip us
see we
because
are
I know,
finishing up here. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, your work's been transformative for people already in a relationship. I imagine that you also encounter singles or
Of
hear
course.
from widows, divorcees, or people who haven't found that right partnership in the first place, who realize the real problem wasn't necessarily their last relationship, but that they never had the tools to choose the right person in the first place. What would you say to someone in that situation where you think the world really the world underinvests in helping people choose well before they ever need to repair the work and see what's so different?
Well, I think that's important. And part of attracting the right person for you is being the right person. Okay.
There you
Being in
go.
touch with for a woman, is to be in touch with their femininity. For a man, to be in touch with his masculinity, understand what all that is, support that in your own life where you're not depending on someone, but processing all the ways I teach the process. And we only covered a few how to produce your estradiol. But another reason why women who are widows are in menopause or gotten older or their spouses died, one of the reasons that they don't start again is because they're stressed, okay? And that stress inhibits estradiol. And already, your body doesn't readily make estradiol. And that's your feminine side, which makes you get in touch with the suffering of not having love and I want love, and then processing those negative emotions back to positive emotions, which is the process of making estradiol, which then motivates you to be in a relationship, feel safe. It builds your self esteem, it reaches your worthiness. That's all the truth. We all deserve to be loved. We're all wonderful. The right person is there for us, waiting to find us, but we have to take the risk. So you have to start saying
That's the
yes.
vulnerability.
It's always take the risk when men approach you or put yourself in situations where you could go out on a date with a guy and go with a guy, it's dangerous. And what you do is you have that danger. Maybe it's, I mean, not real danger, but it's that you could be rejected again. You could open
Right.
your heart and be hurt again. These are the kinds of dangers that will produce the cortisol response. And what we do as humans is avoid cortisol, avoid danger, create danger so moderate danger, so that you can feel the emotions of loneliness and sadness and fear and shame when you get down to the real danger, and that I don't have it and other people have it and what's wrong with me. This is your inner world that you have to be the mother to. You have to process those feelings. And the same thing for
Mhm.
men. They have this inner world. They have to get in touch with it. And then what happens is you turn it around. Now, when a man turns it around, I do the feeling letter exercise. What I'm doing is analyzing
Right.
feelings, changing them into positive feelings, and that is a testosterone producer and an estrogen producer, and that makes me more whole. And I notice you refer a lot to the word wholeness. And in my
Mhm.
world, wholeness means a woman who's in touch primarily with her female side so she can go to her male side without losing the connection to her female side.
Absolutely.
And a
I say
man's wholeness
stretch your
is
strengths and strengthen your weaknesses for proper balance.
that's
I
it.
love
That's
it.
it. And for a man to be grounded in his masculinity, his independence, his autonomy, his strength, I can be happy on my own and then become happier by providing for someone you care for who needs your help. And you provide that support, your estrogen goes up and your testosterone goes up. And what we haven't covered a lot is the importance of making love for hormonal balance. There's no other time in a man's life where he has the greatest wholeness on a hormonal level. You can see it when a man is turned on to a woman and she is turned on to him. His testosterone and estrogen levels are both going up and doubling. Her estrogen and testosterone is going up and doubling. It's a time where we can glimpse our wholeness, recharge ourselves with unconditional love, and then bring that love into our lives. Stress wears us down a bit, and we come back together through good communication, through connection, and then the celebration is occasionally making love. And that is the
And
essence of my
that's,
work.
and
And
life is better with good love in it. What you were just
absolutely.
describing, I wrote the guide I did not have, Life Worth Living, a practical and compassionate guide to navigating widowhood and soul parenting,
Mm.
creating, life after loss, creating relationships after loss, rebuilding life after grief or on the heels of heartbreak. That's what Life Worth Living is all about. I've developed the Ready to Be Relationship Ready program based on that. And John, given everything that you've built your life work around, I'm wondering, with all the things that we've explored today, um, I'm writing my now fourth book, and it's really about people setting people up for exactly the right kind of relationship that you've been talking about, that you've spent decades helping people protect and restore. I would be deeply honored if you'd consider writing the foreword for my upcoming book, Find Love Now. I
Well,
cannot imagine a more powerful voice to open the conversation for readers who are ready to stop repeating the same patterns and start choosing partnerships with intention.
Well, a lot of people ask me for forwards who I really, really respect and appreciate. I will give a nice endorsement once I see the book, if and I think
Awesome.
it will be aligned. Uh,
I'm
I,
super
I'm,
honored.
I love writing, but I've got 6 books I'm trying to edit right now, and so exciting. I do have my new book, as you have a new book. It's so good
Yeah.
to have these books so people can now go back and learn in more detail and underline because in a 1 hour session it's hard to do a whole book, so I'm
Oh
sure
gosh.
people will great benefit from your book, and I look forward to having people enjoy my ideas as well. And thank you so much for having me on your show, Michelle.
It's such an honor. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your life experience with us, John.